Okay, gang, how about now? You guys hear me? Yes, no, maybe so? Let me know. The technical gremlins are out to get me tonight, it appears. Let me know if y'all can hear me, and we will finally get a move on. There we go. Okay, Scott says I can hear you loud and clear. Thank goodness. All right, everybody. So sorry about that. Now I guess we can talk about the weather, huh? My goodness, what a mess. All right. Thanks for being patient, sticking with us. It is 8:30. We are an hour delayed, but better late than never, I suppose, although that's not a good thing to go by in the TV business. Anyway, all right. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to talk about some storms tomorrow night at long last, and then we will look ahead to our updated eclipse forecast for the cloud cover, which I will say, now that you can finally hear me, is looking quite a bit better. Is it totally blue sky clear to good to go Monday? Not necessarily, but it's looking better. So that is certainly some positive news. If you're one of the few that is still sticking with us tonight, we appreciate it. I appreciate it very, very, very much. And of course, as always, if you have any questions as the night goes on, just let me know. Ashley, there's sound. It's a miracle. There's sound. Ay, ay, ay. Gotta love technology, don't you, gang? And operator error, too. It is what it is. All right, let's start in Bardstown, shall we? Sun's going down on this Saturday night. It's all quiet. Really nice day today, wasn't it? We got up to 60 here in Louisville. A lot of us were in the upper 50s. Really, really nice day. And you know what? After all the mess we had to go through this past week, we deserve it. We definitely deserve it. Here in Louisville, it is 57. Got a light breeze out of the north and east around 5 or 6 miles per hour. Not too bad. Radar's quiet. Radar's going to stay quiet all night. We may have some frost again overnight tonight. It's not going to be as widespread, though, as what we saw last night, all right? It's going to be mainly east of Louisville, where you see those blue counties. Let's highlight them, shall we? Let's say from North Vernon, Madison, Carrollton, Bedford, Newcastle, Shelbyville, Taylorsville, Bardstown, Lebanon, Campbellsville, Columbia. If you live in that eastern zone of wave country I just drew, highlighted there in blue, that is a frost advisory for tomorrow morning. I think it's from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. So you know the drill, just like the last couple of nights, or just like last night, I should say. Make sure you have your plants covered up. If you can, try to bring them inside. We'll see lows, for the most part, above freezing. I'll call it 38 to be exact here in the city, but you get outside of town, 34, 35, that looks like a pretty good bet. Let's see. Norman says, after this past Tuesday, I've learned to watch all of these. Yeah, even when the audio's screwed up. Even when the meteorologist doesn't know how to run the computers. Goodness me. Oh, well, it is what it is, and we appreciate you being patient. I appreciate you being patient with me tonight. All right, 38. That's our low, mostly clear, a little on the cool side. Maybe some frost east of I-65, all right? Big story, well, the first of two stories that we'll be talking about tonight. Got a few storms on the way Sunday night. Now, it doesn't look like a huge deal. I'm not overly worried about severe weather this go-round. But a few storms could be loud. Might have some heavier rain with them, too. It's all thanks to a weak little front that's kind of scooting through tomorrow evening. But I wouldn't let this discourage you from any outdoor plans tomorrow. Most of the day Sunday looks pretty good. It's once we get towards Sunday evening, let's say past 6 or 7 o'clock, All right, that's when those rain and storm chances start to ramp up just a little bit. We may have a stray shower in our western counties tomorrow afternoon. That's a slim chance, 10, 20%. Once you get past 6 or 7 o'clock, that's when those rain and storm chances start to go up. And not everybody's going to see the heavier storms tomorrow night. It'll be pretty spotty. But where you do, main issue will be heavy rain, perhaps some gusty winds. Can we squeeze out a severe thunderstorm warning tomorrow night? Maybe. But the greater threat is definitely to our west, that is for sure. Let's go through futurecast, shall we? This is 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's all good. It's all good. A little cool, mid to upper 30s, but still all quiet. And most of the day, like we mentioned, looks fine. This is 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. Let's get our drawing tool out here. You see the first of those showers and rumblers moving into Lawrence County, Indiana. We'll have to watch some of these storms near Evansville tomorrow evening because they could still be on the stronger side just to our west. That SPC risk is just barely outside of wave country. So it still bears watching. I'm not saying it's total severe clear, but as the evening goes on, what little instability is there, it fizzles out. All right. So most of these storms will start to weaken once the sun goes down. This is 8:30. We still got some heavier rain in Salem, Corden, Hardensburg, maybe down towards Litchfield. Maybe a few other heavier storms redeveloping on the backside of the system out near Evansville and Paducah that we'll have to watch. But all in all, this is a quick mover, which is good for Monday. We'll get into that in a minute. And you notice how these storms with time slowly lose their intensity. Now, there could still be some heavier downpours like we talked about, but I'm not overly concerned about severe storms at this point. There's zero tornado risk in wave country. To our west, they might get a spin up. Not here. Okay? Just heavy rain, maybe some gusty winds. And you notice we're really just looking at some lingering showers by 1 o'clock eclipse morning, Monday morning. By the Monday morning drive, it's all gone. Now, look to the west at 6 o'clock Monday morning, all right? No clouds. Now, this is one forecast model. I'll show you our forecast here in a second. But I'm liking the trends here, guys. I'm liking the trends. I'm not saying total clear, but I like what I see for Monday afternoon. I mentioned the severe threat for tomorrow. It's not in wave country. It's just outside. If you were watching us yesterday, we were talking about that marginal risk, including a good chunk of wave country right along I-65. Storm Prediction Center has pushed that back to the west. And that's where you get a brief period where the shear in the atmosphere, the low-level jet starts to kick up, and the instability. That's where they line up the best. Further east these storms go tomorrow night, the less fuel it'll have to work with. Thus, the reason why we expect these storms to weaken quite a bit before they get here. But we'll still watch it just to be on the safe side for heavy rain, maybe some gusty winds. But the good news is these storms are gone by Monday. It is almost time, my friends. We are, let's do some quick math here on the fly. 42 hours away from the eclipse, the peak of it. And things are looking better. Let's remind you of the spots in wave country that will be in totality Monday afternoon, just after 3 o'clock Eastern time, 2 o'clock Central time. Scottsburg, Salem, French Lick, Jasper, Bedford, Seymour, North Vernon. You guys in wave country will be in totality Monday afternoon. If you're maybe thinking traveling a little bit outside of wave country, Columbus looks like a great spot. Greensburg, Shelbyville, Indiana, Indianapolis. They got a big eclipse watch party at the Speedway up in Indianapolis. That'll be fun. Bloomington, IU's got all kinds of activities. Vincennes as well. So if you're looking for the full effect of this solar eclipse, you got to go up towards southern Indiana. Here in Louisville, down towards E-Town, Shelbyville, Bardstown, you'll notice the eclipse but you won't get that full, true feel of what it's like to be in total darkness, at least for a couple of minutes, right? You want to be in southern Indiana. And remember, this is the last eclipse anywhere in the US of A for at least a decade. It might actually be longer. I think 2045 is when we see one go across most of the lower 48. There might be one in the 2030s in Alaska. I can't remember, but I do know in 2045 is the next one that kind of goes across the country, like what we're going to see here in a couple of days. Now, you go down towards the Ohio River. You go down towards Bardstown, E-Town, Litchfield, the Parkways, southern Kentucky. You'll be in a partial eclipse. Pretty darn close to a total eclipse, but just a little bit short. So you won't get that full effect, but you'll definitely notice it gets a little bit darker during that peak time, right around 3 o'clock. Is it going to be, totally dark? Not necessarily, but it'll definitely be a couple tenths darker, if you will. Let's show you the percentages if we can. There we go. Louisville's at 99.2%. So we're just this close in Louisville to see that total eclipse. 99.3 in Corydon, 99.6 in Madison, 98% in Shelbyville, Fort Knox, E-Town, down to 96% in Mumfordville. But I mean, as close to 100 as these numbers are, you literally have to be right smack dab at 100% totality to get the full effect of this eclipse. And unfortunately, if you're south of Scottsburg, south of Salem, south of English, Indiana, you're going to be in that partial zone where you won't get that full effect. All right. This is when the eclipse times start. That totality time starts. You've probably seen this a lot, but we're going to keep reminding everybody until we get towards Monday afternoon. Jasper, 3:03. French Lick, 3:04. Salem and Seymour, 3:06. Kevin and Brian are going to be in Seymour Monday afternoon to give you that full view of totality. So if you don't want to travel, you can just watch it right here on Wave from Seymour, and many other spots. We'll be in French Lick. We'll be in Scottsburg. We'll even have a few folks in Louisville as we cover the partial eclipse here in the Derby City. As far as those times are concerned, about 3 minutes. Those 3 minutes will fly, though, so make sure you just soak it in and enjoy it if you're going to be in that totality path on Monday. About 3:11 is the total time of the total eclipse in Jasper, 3:07 in Orange County, French Lick, a little under 2 minutes in Salem. So if you're in Salem proper, you might want to jog a little bit to the north or north and west if you want to see that totality just a little bit longer, okay? A little over 3 minutes. In Seymour, Scottsburg, same thing. You're only in totality for 54 seconds. So if you want to be in that totality for a couple of minutes, might want to take a little drive up 65. Don't park on the interstates, all right? Don't do it. Don't park on the interstates. Don't park on the major highways. Get somewhere safe. Make sure you have your glasses. I meant to bring in some glasses from the weather office, but I've been dealing with these computer issues for an hour. But just be smart as you're heading out to this eclipse on Monday, okay? Let's give you kind of a look as to what it might be like in Seymour Monday afternoon. That totality occurs just after 3 o'clock in Seymour, 3:06. But look at the partial start time, okay? And I really want you to pay attention to this wherever you are over the next 48 hours. See, that partial eclipse starts at 1:49 in Seymour and goes all the way until about 4:30 in the afternoon. So during that 2.5 hour time frame in Seymour and wherever you are, you got to have those glasses on if you're going to be outside looking at this. okay? Unless you are in totality for that little 3-minute span in Seymour, those glasses got to be on if you're looking at it, okay? You know, there's been a lot of talk about making sure you don't burn your eyes out looking at this eclipse, right? Well, you don't have to worry about that if you're in totality for those 2 or 3 minutes. But besides that, you got to have those glasses on if you're looking right up at the sun, all right? So that's for Seymour. You notice that eclipse, partial eclipse, goes until about 4:25, 4:23 to be exact. Here in the city of Louisville, same start time for the partial eclipse, right around 1:50, 1:49 to be exact. But because we don't reach totality in Louisville, we're at 99.2. You got to have those glasses on the entire time if you're here in the city, okay? So from 1:49 to 4:22 in Louisville, keep those glasses on. You won't be in totality in Jefferson County. So because of that, you're not going to be able to take a break, if you will, to look at the totality. If you want to do that, you got to go up to Indiana, right? Let's see. Scott's asking, can we see the cloud cover forecast? Yes, it's almost here, Scott, I promise. In fact, I think it's the next graphic or two. So here in Louisville, not a total eclipse, pretty close, 99.2. Partial eclipse from 1:49 to 4:22 in the afternoon. So that 2.5-hour span, keep those glasses on, all right? Not your sunglasses, not your regular sunglasses that you take with you every day. Got to get those fancy ones, right? Here's that cloud cover map that you were asking about, Scott, or that graph, I should say. Don't panic when you see 70% Monday morning, right? So those clouds will continue to move out. We get the storms through here Sunday night. It'll take a while for those clouds to move out of here. But we still expect in the nick of time, around 1 or 2 o'clock Monday afternoon, for those clouds to start to really break up. Now, if those clouds are delayed in breaking up, then we could have some problems. But we're optimistic, looking at all of the computer models, all the ensembles, all the other guidance, we're becoming optimistic that we will see decent cloud clearing around midday Monday going through the early afternoon. Now, you see that 40% cloud cover chance right around the peak eclipse time, right? Keep in mind, this is for Louisville, but in general, it's the same in southern Indiana as well, around that 40-45% range. But these are not those thicker, lower clouds, right? They're actually those higher wispy clouds, and that works in our favor because those higher cirrus clouds are thinner, right? So as long as those clouds stay thin, we should get a decent view of totality. Will it be a perfectly clear view? That remains to be seen, but you'll still get a good 3 minutes of totality even with those clouds in the sky. If those clouds are a little thicker Monday afternoon, then we're starting to talk about some obscured views in southern Indiana. But I still like where we're going. And hopefully as the high-res guidance starts to come in more and more over the next day or so, really tonight and early tomorrow morning, we'll hopefully be able to refine those cloud cover numbers even more. But again, 47%, that's pretty manageable, especially if it's those thinner clouds. You should be able to get a good view of that total solar eclipse in Indiana and still get a good view of the partial eclipse elsewhere in wave country. Let's see. Tanya's asking about the storms for tomorrow night. Will we see them in Hanover? Yeah, we could see a few, Tanya, in Hanover. It doesn't look like a huge concern at this point, but it is something that we will continue to keep a close eye on. Speaking of the eclipse forecast, we've talked about the cloud cover, but we can now say with near certainty that the rain will be gone Monday afternoon. tiny, tiny chance for a stray shower around 6 o'clock Monday morning. It's only a 10% chance. I think everybody's dry by sunrise. But you also notice, and this is so cool looking at the hour-by-hour temperature forecasts amongst the models. From noon to about 2, we go from 70 to 73, give or take a degree. And then during that peak of the eclipse, we drop a few degrees to 71. And then in the next hour, we start the climb again, eventually topping out in the mid, maybe upper 70s by the end of the day. So even if you're not in the totality path, even if you're here in Louisville, Shelbyville, Bardstown, wherever you might be that's not in the path of totality, you're still going to see a little bit of a temperature drop during that peak eclipse around 3 o'clock. Is it going to be as significant as what we'll see in Indiana? Probably not. It'll be around 3 degrees. But if you're up in Seymour, Columbus, Scottsburg, Salem, you have a pretty good chance of seeing those temperatures drop maybe 5 degrees just during that little 3-minute span, especially if those skies are clearer than what we're forecasting right now. So if the skies are clear, that means the sun is warming us up faster. And that means when that moon goes over the sun, those temperatures will drop a little quicker, right? So yeah, I can't rule out some spots maybe being about 5 degrees cooler by Monday afternoon. Let's see. Destiny's asking about storms in E-Town. This is again for tomorrow night. Destiny, let's say past 9 o'clock. That's when the storm chances will creep up. I'd say 9 to about 2 a.m. for E-Town and for most of the I-65 corridor. So here at Louisville, Bullitt County, Shepherdsville, Hodgenville, those places, 9 p to 2 a tomorrow night. And again, guys, we're not worried about severe storms in a big way tomorrow night. Maybe a few storms have heavy rain and wind. That's the main issue we'll be watching, okay? So that's where we stand on the eclipse. Let me show you the map view of the clouds, right? So this is 2:27 p.m. That's when the eclipse begins in the U.S. down in South Texas. I wish I had better news down there for our friends in the Lone Star State, but they could have a good bit of cloud cover, maybe even a few severe storms Monday afternoon as this eclipse is going on. So you notice on this particular forecast model, you got to look really closely. Let me draw the eclipse shadow right about there. And there's some cloud cover, okay, where that little squiggly line is. Now, the big question is going to be, how thick is that cloud cover? We don't think it'll be too terribly thick to where it totally obscures the eclipse view. But it may keep it from being that perfectly clear view of totality. That's why our forecast is right around that 45 to 50% range, okay? So that's where things stand at this point. And you notice this is pretty quick. This is a quick eclipse. By a little after 3:30 in the afternoon, this eclipse is done in the U.S. So it's only about an hour that we have this going across the United States. So that's where we stand with the eclipse, gang. I'm fairly optimistic that we will see a good bit of clearing Monday afternoon. All right. A lot of folks asking about the storms. I'll get to that. Okay. We'll go back to it. Here's the 10-day. You notice the storm chances are with us tomorrow, like we talked about earlier, but it's not all day. Okay. Tomorrow morning is totally fine. Tomorrow afternoon looks pretty good too. Highs near 70, mix of sun and clouds. It's tomorrow afternoon, or I should say tomorrow evening, when those rain and storm chances go up, mainly past 6 or 7 o'clock. Here's Futurecast. Find your town. Quiet start, quiet afternoon. Here come those storms rolling in around 6 o'clock in our northwestern counties. 8:30, 9 o'clock, getting closer to I-65. So E-Town, around 8:39. Louisville, same thing. um, Henryville, Clarksville, Shepherdsville, Bardstown, 8, 9 o'clock. Then you see those storms slowly weaken as the evening goes on. This should not be a huge deal at all. Maybe just some heavier downpours more than anything else. Could we have one random severe thunderstorm warning? Absolutely. But the better chances for severe storms are to our west. I know a lot of us are still on edge from what happened on Tuesday. Believe me, I am. During the middle of our severe weather coverage, I had to call my family, make sure they were okay in Oldham County. Fortunately, they were. So we're all still kind of on edge from that. I get it. But this is going to be absolutely nothing like we saw on Tuesday. Just a few rumblers, more than anything else, with some heavy rain and a little bit of wind. Main issue is to our west. Let's see. Tommy's asking about Carrollton. You can see Carrollton seeing some of those heavier downpours around or just after midnight. I'd say, Tommy, if you're in Carrollton, you may see storms as early as 10 o'clock tomorrow night. 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. But again, by the time they get to Carrollton, they should well be on their way to weakening and really just becoming more heavy showers than anything else. More questions. Vincennes, cloud cover, Frederick asked. Yeah, probably about the same, Frederick, as what we're going to see in Seymour and Salem and Scottsburg. 45% in that ballpark. So it'll be those wispy clouds that should allow you to get a decent view of the eclipse, but it may not be totally clear. Hope that makes sense for you. Any more severe weather chances in the 10-day, Brenda asked. There's no huge chances. I'll put it that way. I don't want to say we're totally severe clear just yet. All right. But we need to watch. We need to watch tomorrow night. Not a big deal like we talked about. But we also need to watch the middle of next week. And I'll explain that here in a second. Tommy says, thank you. You're welcome, Tommy. Thanks for asking the question. Let's see. Should we wear the glasses 1 to 4 p.m. if we are, or just around 3 p.m. for the eclipse? Yeah. So the glasses are mainly to protect your eyes during the 2.5 hour window of the partial eclipse. Okay. Basically what happens, let's just kind of simplify it real simple here. The sunlight, all that bright sunlight that gets kind of spread out when we're not in an eclipse, it all gets more concentrated as the moon's shadow covers up the sun more, right? So even if you're in like 99% of an eclipse, that one little percent is really bright on your eyes. Does that make sense? That light is more concentrated, and that's where it can hurt your eyes. So that's why it's really important to have those eclipse glasses, well, wherever you're going. But for those of you, especially along the Ohio River and across Kentucky, that are not in totality, you really got to have those eclipse glasses throughout the entirety of the eclipse from 1:45 to about 4:30 in the afternoon. And you can't really, if you're looking at straight up at the eclipse, you cannot take those glasses off unless you're in that 3-minute window of totality in Indiana. Does that make sense? Kind of hard to explain, but hopefully that clears things up for you. Bottom line, keep the glasses handy Monday afternoon. All right. So that's where we stand on the eclipse. That's where we stand on our storm chances for Sunday. Now, before we go, let's talk about the middle part of next week because it looks like a mess. Waves of rain starting Tuesday morning and maybe going through early Friday. Yeah, I really hope you enjoyed all that sunshine today, guys, because we're not going to see a whole lot of it the next few days. Some tomorrow before the storms roll in, some Monday, see eclipses going on. But that brilliant blue sky that we saw today, that's probably not happening anytime soon. So Tuesday morning, that rain arrives with a few embedded thunderstorms here and there. We can't entirely rule that out. And then you notice this low pressure is just stalled out, just kind of meandering down to our south and west, somewhere in that ballpark near Texarkana. And eventually the low gets a move on, but ahead of it, you could just see this constant stream of moisture moving in from the north or from the south and west, northeast, right along the Ohio River Valley. It's hard to nail down the exact timing of each wave of rain. But guys, this rain is going to add up. A lot of it. Now, as far as any severe weather potential, it's not looking as concerning, at least with today's models. That can still change. It all comes down to the track of that low pressure again, as it does so many times around here. You get that low that goes further north across central Indiana up towards the Great Lakes. That would put us more in the warm sector. That could bump up our severe weather threat. But for now, a lot of models have the low going right over wave country. And that would make it more of just a heavy rain setup than anything else, right? So that's what we're leaning towards for now. But I'm not going to rule out a couple of stronger storms Wednesday night and Thursday. I know that's really a broad time frame, but Wednesday night, early Thursday especially, we'll have to keep an eye on for at least a couple of stronger storms. But for now, the severe threat does not look to be nearly as high as what we saw this past week. And you notice by Friday morning, most of the rain is gone. I still can't rule out a few lingering showers, but look at all this rain, guys. Yeah. 2.5, 3 inches of rain is a good bet just next week alone, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I don't know if you all have seen any of the videos up in the Northeast, Pittsburgh especially. The rivers around Pittsburgh are running really high. They're flooding. And that water's got to go somewhere. So we're going to get some of that residual effect, especially along the Ohio in the next week or so, where it's not going to get too high into flood stage, but there might be some minor flooding issues along the Ohio River, if nothing else, just running a little bit high. And if we get 2 to 3 inches of rain next week, that can really exacerbate our flooding concerns. Okay, we'll have to keep an eye on it. But a lot of rain could be on the table if this forecast holds for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. And you notice next weekend looks pretty good. Saturday, 74, good bit of sun. How about 80? Yeah, 80 degrees next Sunday. And quiet, at least for next Sunday. The following Monday, got to keep an eye on that. Too early for specifics, but it's a system we're watching, okay? Ashley, Tuesday night okay? Yes, Tuesday night's fine. Rain, maybe a few rumbles, nothing of severe concern at this point. I will say with that system, the bigger severe threat is to our south. It could be a multi-day severe weather setup like we saw up here this past week. Could be something similar down to the south this upcoming week. But the severe threat looks to be low for now here at home. Weather Geek on YouTube. Wouldn't be thunder over Louisville time without a threat of flooding. No kidding. Just throw in some winter weather in there, right? No, I'm kidding. There has been sleet on thunder before. Many of you have been around here a long time, know that. There's been some cold thunders. There's been some really warm ones. There's been stormy. There's been sunny. You just never know what you're going to get on thunder. Long term, we're just now starting to get into that range of thunder. Thunder over Louisville, that is, which is 2 weeks from tonight, if you can believe that. Ashley's asking, when is thunder? April 20th, so 2 weeks from today. It's crazy, isn't it? And Derby's 4 weeks from today. So we're just now starting to get into range of all of those events, especially Thunder in particular. So we'll be keeping an eye on it. Of course, we got to get through the eclipse first. And then we will kick it into high gear when it comes to Derby Festival coverage. So it's on the way, gang. It is on the way. All right. Everybody good? Any last minute questions before I go? So sorry for the technical issues. That is all on me. One of these days, we won't have any of those issues, right? So I will be back here tomorrow night with a microphone that is working on the first try. And we will probably be tracking a few storms rolling in when we're here tomorrow night. And we'll also have a somewhat last look at you, if you will, at that cloud forecast for the eclipse Monday afternoon. If you haven't made your plans, make them. Make them. Think about where you're going to be driving. Think about where you're going to watch the eclipse that's not on a highway. Think about how you're going to get home, how much time you're going to allow yourself to get home, because the roads are probably going to be a mess. Not probably, they will be a mess Monday afternoon after this is done. So make sure you have all of those backup plans in place as you're heading to your eclipse destination on Monday. And be safe, of course, too. All right, gang, I'm going to get out of here. I spent so much time figuring out these issues. I run a little behind now. So we're going to get everything ready for the 11 o'clock show on TV. Have an updated look at this forecast, look over some new data tonight. And then we will be back right here in the Wave Weather Now studios around, let's say, 7:30 tomorrow night with a look at those storms coming in, as well as that eclipse forecast for Monday. That's going to do it for tonight. Be kind to one another. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your health. And we will see you right back here tomorrow night. See you then, guys. Have a good one.